It comes,
Recording in progress.
it comes with a mouse.
Okay, I assume you're pretty advanced character, Steve, so I assume you have a carpal tunnel mouse.
I use a trackball. I love trackballs. But my current trackball is Kensington Orbit.
Yeah, I've used trackballs and I did love it. And also nobody will steal your trackball.
Right. Well, especially mine. I have mine glued to my desk.
Oh, yeah, well, you're a special case, we realize that. Yeah, I used to love them, but this one is sideways, your hand sideways. It's really nice. And your thumb
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Hi, Art.
Don't talk to Art.
Okay, I can't hear you, Art.
Can you hear me?
There you
Ah.
go. I can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I can't use any Microsoft Office. And I think the one you're talking about is.
They do make one, absolutely, yeah.
It-
That would be unpatriotic to you.
Yes, it would. And the sad thing is, what few pieces of hardware Microsoft makes really are pretty good.
Yeah.
It hurts me to say that.
Yeah.
They,
We try to stay with the
they're,
reality. we're biased, but you know, of course, me, I eat everything. I eat everybody, so.
their keyboard, I had one of their Microsoft keyboards. It was pretty good. I had one of their mice. It was really good. It was a high resolution mouse. And I got it cheap enough that I thought, oh, cool. High resolution optical mouse.
As
My problem with, I've got two trackballs that I kept, but both of my desktop machines are very limited on USB ports.
Mhm.
And the USB hub doesn't like getting power from them.
Yeah,
So I have went with a wireless mouse because it's a single dongle for the wireless mouse and keyboard. It shares the same dongle. So.
I just can't get attached to wireless mice.
I would much rather use a trackball, but my trackball, I had a Logitech trackball and a Kingston trackball. Both of them were older. Both of them suffered the same problem that roller mice suffer from. You know, they get dirty and you have to clean the stupid things.
Gail came home with one for $15 that she got from work. So, okay, $15. And it's a Microsoft. And it's nice. It definitely does take some stress off your.
Yeah,
You need a carpal tunnel mouse, Art, if you don't have one.
We need a what?
Carpal tunnel mouse,
one that's good on your wrist.
ergonometric mouse.
Not much in there.
Yeah.
Carpal tunnel, it's your hand is sideways. And you point your finger kind of toward the front. It's kind of like holding a gun. And then it just wraps around your hand and your hand's not flat on the table, which will give you, that's where you get carpal tunnel. Your hand is vertical, your fingers are aligned vertically, well, not vertically, but whatever, they're horizontal. Your fingers are horizontal, but they're in a vertical configuration. Yeah.
The new toy, Steve's new toy.
So what is it?
It is a
8-channel PoE DVR.
DVR.
Really?
Yep.
So from whence cometh this?
Micro Center. I just got it back from there.
Oh, okay.
I got the DVR, the 4 terabyte hard drive, and 3 cameras, 1 8 megapixel and 2 5 megapixel. It's all
Wireless or wired or what?
all wired PoE,
Ah, okay.
and the PoE power comes from that thing, from the DVR.
It's got a lot of airspace inside it, I must say.
Yeah, once the hard drive's in there,
It'll weigh twice as much.
Oh, okay. There's a hard drive goes in it. Okay.
there's no hard drive. The hard drive would go
Wish I could share a screen.
here. He wishes he could share a screen. See, that's what happens when I get.
Well, that's one of the hazards of going to Micro Center. Is
Oh,
that
no, I had planned this out a while in advance.
oh,
You
so
share a screen now. Yep. The one that I bought, of course, it was several years ago and many generations ago. But it took composite video.
Mhm.
So,
It
Oh, this
had to
is-
do a lot more work.
yeah,
This is Lenovo
Yeah, okay.
wireless.
and
Do you see that, Art?
oh yeah. Well, the
oh,
screen sharing is working beautifully.
Yeah.
ergonomical.
Only thing I get to bitch about, I usually get bitched at instead
Is
of
that-
being a bitcher or instead of bitchy.
Is that wireless?
Yeah.
How,
Want to see it again?
how much was that?
$30.
It's not hateful. That's not great. That's not hateful. I might have to do that. I really don't.
It's a Lenovo vertical wireless mouse, 2.4 gigahertz. Well, that's pretty good. 800, 1200, 1600, 6 button.
I was looking to see about getting maybe like a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard because both of the computers support Bluetooth. And then that would free up a USB port.
I have a little tiny Bluetooth mouse. It's this big. It's actually smaller than this
Smaller
thing.
than that thing, yeah.
And that's not bad. It's got a button that's easy to turn on and off, but not easy to accidentally turn on and off. So it doesn't run down the batteries in my laptop bag.
I'm using a Logitech combo deal with uses one dongle. I have had it for 2.5 years now, 3 years.
Same set of batteries.
I have replaced the batteries in the mouse twice
Mhm.
in that amount of time. I have never replaced the mouse or the batteries in the keyboard.
Really?
Yep.
I get
And I leave it on all the time. I mean,
Oh,
it's got on and off switches. I never turn the stupid thing off.
$20 wireless ergonometric vertical
That's
mouse.
not bad.
It's Amazon's choice.
$20.
It's a
$20 is getting closer to my.
Oh, and it's
threshold.
got, yeah, it's got the little, yeah, okay, yeah.
I really would like a combo unit that does with the mouse and the keyboard.
For $20, right?
Well, I paid $20 for the Logitech thing. Maybe I paid $25 for the Logitech thing.
the one I've got a lot of in Logitech is the K400 or K420. So a keyboard with a trackpad on one end.
Okay,
And I like that. I use those with Raspberry Pis.
yeah.
Because they're small.
I wouldn't mind a trackpad so much. The mouse, I bought this one simply because it was cheap and it was better than the Micro Center brand.
Mhm.
The Micro Center brand I had for a while, but every month I was replacing batteries in the damn thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$40
Logitech
for
does
the
be good
pair,
battery life.
wireless.
$40 isn't hateful.
Yeah,
It's not hate. I mean, that's $20 for the thing and $20 for the keyboard.
Oh, you can get the Kensington, which I've used Kensington before. They had good stuff.
I'm not
76
paying-
bucks.
Yeah, I'm
Now,
not
the
paying $80
$40
for
one
keyboard.
doesn't have the warped keyboard. It's just the warped mouse.
I hate the stupid economical keyboards.
Hmm.
Cannot type on those things.
But it fits your mind. It's
It does
warped.
fit my mind. It is warped. I hate those things. So I don't type like a normal person, so.
Well, I think the ergonomic keyboards you either love or you hate. There's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground. I can use them if I have to, but I hate those stupid things.
Yeah, try
We
using
don't
one
have
with one
to.
hand.
Oh,
We had a couple of people at work that had them. And I'd get a ticket, it's like, oh, damn, they've got one of those big keyboards. One of them, one woman I knew, when she had a problem, she had exhausted all possible things and I was gonna be there a while. I would take a keyboard with me.
yeah. Just about have to defend yourself.
I think I only had a couple of customers that actually had those keyboards, so I was lucky. I got away with not using them as much as possible. But I hate those keyboards. I did actually try to use one once. That lasted all of about 3 hours and I went, nope, I'm done with this thing.
I am enjoying my finger mouse because I use it, I keep it by my chair when I need to go to the surveillance screen. It is nice.
I had may still have it somewhere. It was a pen mouse. It was a mouse.
Oh, yeah,
that-
with a ball on the end of it.
No, it was optical.
Oh,
It was an optical pen mouse. Wireless deal. Goes through batteries pretty fast. But it was pretty neat. I never quite got it to work real well on some of the surfaces. A couple of the surfaces, it just, I guess either I wasn't holding it at the right angle or it. But
girlfriend has an iPad and the iPencil or whatever the hell it is. I am surprised at how poor the battery life is on it. It will not last a week.
yeah,
She's lucky if she gets 3 days. That's, to me, that's kind of silly.
In my finger mouse, it will shut down. It's pretty good.
I think that's what my keyboard and mouse are doing. If I don't use them, I think they actually turn themselves off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my experience with my Logitech
Yeah,
mouse and keyboard combination, which operate off of a single dongle.
yeah, that's,
Moving the mouse doesn't wake it up. You gotta actually tap a button.
I actually have to hit the keyboard, yes, to wake it up.
No, I don't. I just wiggle the mouse back and forth, a couple of shakes, and that's it.
Oh,
Yeah, but mine's probably the cheaper model of, because I spent like $20 on it, maybe 25. So,
I don't think mine was much more than that. I think it might have been 30. And I had got it about, well, I got it when we moved into this house, which would have been in 2016. So it's almost 7 years ago.
yeah,
But my experience with the keyboard and mouse batteries is that I replace the mouse battery about, I don't know, 10 times as often as I do the keyboard mouse. I think I've changed the keyboard mouse once since I've had it. And I changed the mouse battery maybe, I don't know, a couple times a year at the max. Of course, I'm only here about half a year, so I don't know what it would be if I use it for the whole year.
well, like I said, I've had mine for 2.5 years. I've had to replace the mouse battery twice, and I use it all the time. I mean, the mouse is what gets used the most. The keyboard I don't really use it much.
In the law office with people who were literally typing all day long, we were getting about 6 months on keyboard batteries,
If you,
but that's 8 hours a day.
yeah, if you're
of
using it,
65 words a minute.
if you're using it all the time,
I was buying batteries 144 at a time. And that's enough to last me months.
That's a small circuit board in there. It's mostly box, which is good. You can put drives in there, whatever you want.
No, just one. It's done.
Yeah.
Can't go anymore.
Oh, okay, it's maxed out now.
I can put in a larger drive. It's the same physical size.
up to 6T.
Now,
According
is
to your
that
box.
solid state drive in there?
This,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
spinning drive, 5,900 RPM, Western Digital
Purple.
purple. Yeah, this is, they were designed for surveillance use. 3-year warranty, and the difference between the surveillance and the normal desktop drive is they figure you can write to this one, I think, 8 times as much, and it's still okay. Fine.
They're probably doing some interesting buffer work or something to keep. If it's
Actually,
only
no.
5,900 RPM, it's a rather slow drive.
They can't be buffering that much. I mean, it's video. It's always incoming data.
Well, things are fast these days. I
Yeah,
mean, even all drives buffer, you know, they got a 10 meg, at least a 10 meg these days, huh?
I would think it's got to have some cache on it somewhere.
Yeah, some, but I don't think it isn't huge. It's not designed to be read from particularly frequently. The NAS drives have much larger caches.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're writing to them, and that's the hard part, writing to them. Reading, you got all day.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you look at the throughput to my 5 megapixel camera, the throughput is like 120K. Because of the compression, really. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The compression is wonderful on those things. My network problems went away when I started getting those H.265 drives.
Well, this being wireless, I don't expect to have, or being wired, I don't expect to have any issues with that. I hope not. If I do, something's wrong.
Let's see what's saying on my.
I got my fiber hooked up today at the house.
Nice. He's gonna be like Vicente. I don't know what it is not to have a gig download speed anymore.
No, I only,
It's 7,200 kilobits per second.
7,200.
Yep, 8,500 kilobits per second.
No.
Lost the important part. Oh. So
What would
This
that
is-
be? 7,200. Is that 7 meg? What is that? 7 kilobits?
7,200 or 720?
6189 kilobits per second.
That's
Okay, 6 megabytes per second.
Okay, that's 5 meg, 4 meg. Okay, yeah. 6 meg.
those are tiny.
These are useless. So this house we're in apparently had, So the previous owners built a second bathroom downstairs, and they turned the basement into a master suite. Apparently, they had towel hangers on one wall in this bathroom. And the other wall is the laundry room. Doesn't have drywall up on that side, it's visible studs. There's like 70 of these things still sticking out of the wall. How can you not have gone around the wall and pulled those out? They don't have screws in them anymore. It's just little plastic.
Here's a 1080p, a 2 megapixel drive. It's 830 kilobits per second, about 1 meg. About 1 meg.
So Steve, you're in your new house?
Yes, we signed on it Monday. The fun part was we signed on it at Reisenfeld.
Okay.
This has an alarm out wire.
Yeah.
I hadn't expected that.
Where's the Ethernet wire at? Ah,
And it's got a hand you can put over it.
Yeah.
Really squeeze down.
for water
Yeah.
resistance.
Well, that's
Same
gonna
thing
be
you
up
get with
inside
the
my
radio.
attic. So
Same thing, get the real links.
It's not exactly waterproofing, but it's all right.
fill it up with dielectric grease beforehand, and it's pretty good.
So it will also support the composite out.
Wow.
So you could go to an older system too.
Now you
Yeah.
can have the SD
Yeah.
chip locally.
8 megapixel. Keep up with that composite.
You can have the SD chip and that. Okay.
It's,
And you
Yeah,
can
I'm not
download the pics. Yeah.
it's probably downscales the composite. Composite's only what?
512
420?
lines or something.
Yeah. 360, 360 lines? I don't know. It's small. It's not.
Well, I was running 5 megabits to my 5 megabit camera. So it's not that big with the compression.
Yeah, but composite can't deal with that.
It doesn't handle the compression?
Composite video is only
Just pure video.
360
Oh, is
or
it really?
420 lines. or
Oh,
something
okay, I
like
see
that.
what you're saying, it's just video, it's not Ethernet, okay.
It's like the old yellow connector on the back of old TVs.
Yeah, well, that's what I run to my kitchen TV, and I mean, the picture is perfect. Of course, I've only got a 19-inch.
Your camera, but it's probably still downscaling it some to get it to the composite. Unless the picture isn't the same picture and it's.
Well, the picture, a full regular picture, it was 6 megahertz analog, and I'm sure they're compressed.
12 volts.
Okay, that's the real links. That's why you have the hockey puck. You just put the hockey puck right there and put it in the dongle, and you're good to go.
Means this thing should be about 9 amps. 48 volts at 2 amps. Oh. Okay. It's 12 watts. And this is 90 watts. Yeah, okay, might work.
Well, when you plug it in and you let the factory smoke out, you'll know.
Yeah. It's happened a few times. Right now, plug.org is down because they let the smoke out of my power supply. And I haven't had a chance to get back and replace it.
what was I doing? I was doing something the other day and I see this little puff of smoke
Hating that happens.
and I went, huh, that's interesting. And whatever it was, didn't seem to affect anything. It just, everything I had was still working. I'm going,
Huh. You're lucky.
well, I guess the factory smoke didn't really want to come out today.
It's not all.
2.8 millimeter lens. Oh, you can only use a 256 gig SD on it. That would keep you busy for a couple of weeks.
Well, it'll also do just the thing runs motion, I'm pretty certain of that. I think on the SD card, it just stores JPEGs. It doesn't store the video itself.
Works with Blue Iris.
No, I've got some older cameras, but they store video.
Really?
Yeah. There's a setting that I could tell it not to do that. But it only, I think if I set it for motion, it'll only store video when I've seen something. And my doorbell camera really is just taking a bunch of pictures and then stitching all the pictures together and making like a fake video. Like it's not a GIF. It still says it's a MPEG 4 or whatever, but that's what it's doing. It's taking a bunch of stills and stitching them all together.
So what's the frame rate?
Visible?
It's gotta be
20 for
small.
your cameras. They said 20, claiming 20
Yeah.
for the 5.
I think the camera that I've got at home that actually does video is, I think it's 30 frames.
Oh, here's a 4X optical zoom version of that.
Of this?
Yeah, well, it's another brand actually.
Because there's these turret cameras were $50 a piece. If you want the one that has the 4-power optical zoom, it's
Yeah.
$250.
Exactly. Yep, that's what it's going for. 225.
Oh, it does say it's IP67. It doesn't say what the frame rate is on it. So are you hoping that by buying all Armcrest stuff, that it all just plugs in together and works?
That's the hope.
Is that the key to this? Is it just all plugs in together and works?
So Steve, then you're having to pull a bunch of Ethernet cable, are you?
Yes. I have kids. They all know how to pull cable. I'm not going up in the attic.
Oh, so you've got an open attic that they can get into and,
Yes.
Before we moved into an apartment, me and Patty were actually looking at a little tiny house in Middletown. And it had been gutted. The frame work for all the rooms
Mhm.
was there, but there were no walls, there was no nothing. It was definitely a fixer-upper.
Yeah.
And I told Patty, I said, that's perfect, because I can actually run wire through these walls.
oh yeah,
Actually do this the way it should be done.
yeah, it's nice when you're working with open studs and you haven't been sheetrocked yet.
Yeah,
Once they put the sheetrock on, life gets infinitely more complicated.
yeah, well, the listing was, it was listed as is, I guess it was a foreclosure or something, and they just did enough to make it ready for somebody else to do more work. But Patty didn't like it because she was like, that's still a lot of work. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
This is what we need. I want to, if I'm going to run wires, I want to do it on bare wall. If we don't like how this room, how they've got this laid out, we could just build our own rooms. It's perfect.
The ex and I had a trailer for a while, and I liked that. I could get underneath it and drill up from underneath and
Yeah.
put a wire wherever I wanted.
That was,
And of
when we-
course, there was one wire that went under.
when me and Patty first got together, we lived in a lot of mobile homes. And as I got a little older, the kids had to crawl under the trailer. But when I first moved in, that was exactly, oh, I need a wire there. Go and buy a 300-foot wire and drill a hole and I'm done.
Yeah, this business of crawling under, over, etc., it becomes more of a challenge with advancing experience.
Yeah.
We lived in one of them that I swear one day I heard this loud giant pop and the back end of the trailer looked to me like it had sunk.
Oh,
Patty was like, no, it's fine, it's fine. And I said, look, Edwin used to be able to crawl under this thing. It's now like that. There's no way anybody's going to crawl under. It was about it. When he crawled under, it was always pretty low to start with. That's why he crawled under it. But when I heard this loud pop and I swore that it sunk, it was probably about a half a foot off the ground.
Well, that sounds like one of the jacks went.
Yes, that was my thought.
Did you own it or just rent it?
We were leasing it to buy. And I think what had happened was it was up on a hill, and I think it actually kind of shifted down the hill a little. I think the hill actually shifted. The back side of the hill, I used to be able to walk behind the trailer, and then one day the hill was sitting almost on top of the trailer. So I think the hill actually shifted. And that was pretty much when we decided that we may not want to live there anymore. The backyard, when it rained, when it did a significant rain, the backyard was probably about 1.5 foot of water.
oh, that's a lot of water.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
you can swim, that's not good.
We had the maintenance guy trench it out like 3 times, and even he said, yeah, there's nothing I can do about this. Okay.
Well, it sounds like you were sitting on a slide there.
Yeah, I said, this trailer is eventually going to end up down at the bottom of the hill. They're going to have to create a new lot because it's going to be, instead of lot 83, it will be lot number 10. It will move clear down the hill.
We looked at a piece of property once out in Peebles. Gorgeous lot, nice grass, lots of pine trees. It had been a junkyard at some point. We go over this one hill and there's like 300 car bodies. Damn. But the front half of it looked great.
This trailer park that was sitting up on the hill, actually used to be a campground.
Oh, cool.
That apparently, well, it still did. It still had the wash, the shower rooms and stuff. I mean, you could see where it used to be a campground. Apparently, somebody asked the owner of the campground if they could bring a mobile home in there and live permanent or semi-permanent.
Mhm.
And the guy was like, "Oh, sure, why not?" And then the next thing you know, there's
12 of them.
well, we were 83, so there was at least 83 of them that somebody wanted to put in this point. I think there was 119 of them by the end of
That's a lot.
everything. Yeah, all sitting on top of this hill.
Hill.
I mean, some of them were down at the bottom of the hill, but as you go up,
I actually own a piece of property in Kentucky that I think was meant to be a trailer park at one time. Weird story. My grandmother was from Hazard, Kentucky, always wanted to own property in Kentucky. She and my grandfather moved up here to Cincinnati in 1960, I guess, maybe earlier. And sometime around 1965, about the time I was born, some guy comes through selling property in Kentucky. My grandmother buys it sight unseen. Actually, I guess it was before that because they hadn't formed Cumberland Lake yet. They formed Cumberland Lake and everybody's telling grandma, "Oh, you've lost your property. It's at the bottom of that lake." It's now right on the side. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a quarter of an acre, but it's a great place to go camping.
my grandfather, I don't know where it was at, but kind of the same sort of deal. Somebody came along and he was selling property. He had a beautiful cabin. I mean, it was gorgeous, right along a lake somewhere. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah,
It just
well,
sort
you
of,
should look it up. If you've got a name, it's probably findable.
my mom might know.
But this one, it's in Daniel Boone National Park on Cumberland River, upstream of Cumberland Lake. It's a quarter of an acre. And my taxes on it are $12.35 a year.
Nice.
Because it stayed in the family since it was bought.
See, that was.
So the taxes never increased?
Right. Yeah, if I sell it to somebody else, taxes will go up to $1,200 a year. But as long as it's in the family and it's passed down generation to generation, we're okay. It was kind of weird because after my grandfather died, my grandmother on my dad's side, grandma and grandpa on dad's side are the ones that owned it. After grandpa died, that grandmother sold it to my mother's mom. So she had it for some reason, but they convinced the state, Kentucky, that it was still in the family because there was a relation by marriage.
Right.
Just the generation the other direction. And then my grandmother, my mom's mom, gave it to my mom, and my mom gave it to me. I've been there, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. Still cheaper than a campground.
I don't know what happened to this property. My grandmother had it after my granddad passed away. I don't know what happened to it. I'll ask mom. Mom probably knows where.
Yeah.
But that's what my aunt, one of my aunts, she had a rock house that they pulled all the rocks out of the creek, and she lived right along the creek. It's not Germantown. like, it's off a Germantown Road.
Okay,
But it's not too German. It's kind of in that in between no man's land out there. I can drive. I can go right to where that place used to sit. But when she died, her son didn't want to keep the property, and he sold it to somebody. And I'm like, I would have taken that. I was 12 or something, but I would have taken that because that place was awesome.
yeah,
I would have done extra work to pay for that thing.
and probably wouldn't have needed to do much extra work.
But
But the stone house is nice. I lived in one in Wisconsin, but you can't heat them.
this house, the way they had built it, it was built into the side of a hill.
Okay. Earth berm, cool.
It pretty much stayed a constant like 70 degrees all year long.
I'll bet you're misremembering that.
It was pretty nice. You think it was colder?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Middle of the winter, that the heat eventually seeps out through the walls and it gets cold in there.
I remember she had a really nice bridge across the creek, and the creek flooded one year and the bridge went away. I remember going up there and playing in the creek. I remember all kinds of stuff, but for whatever reason, her son decided that they did not want that property. And it was on a huge plot of land out there.
Maybe somebody made him a good offer.
But I was like, that place is awesome. The one thing I do remember, the electricity, because they had outlets put in to the rock, and they were about as janky as you could possibly get. Oh, yeah. But
My dad used to live in Ross, right off the river. And he had a shed behind his house, had a Moto Guzzi motorcycle in there and a Triumph and an old BSA Gold Star. And one day it started raining and raining and raining.
and the
And he
shed went
watched his
away.
shed down the river. And we actually found two of the bikes. Never did find the BSA.
Yeah,
Good.
one day the cops will be doing something in the river and they'll pull that out.
Yeah. God smote his shed.
I saw many years ago when we lived there. There was some people trying to sell some property right down there on the floodplain, and I'm like, no.
It's cheap, that's all.
Patty said, maybe we should start looking at this, and I'm like, yeah, do you want the river up in your backyard? I mean, you remember we lived on the side of the hill where when it rained, it turned into a river.
Mhm.
I don't really think you want to live on the river. And Patty,
Unless you're in a boat.
well, that was my thing. I had found a houseboat
Mhm.
really cheap. Patty, she definitely afraid of rivers.
Oh,
And I told her, I said, we could get this houseboat, fix it up. We could live right along the Ohio River.
mhm.
There's plenty of, there's 2 or 3 boat slips down there. They'll let you live there all year long. And she's like, no, you know, I don't like boats. I'm like, you know, you married somebody that was in the Navy, right?
I'm pretty sure that technically you can tie up anywhere along the river overnight. You're not allowed to stay in one place for a long period of time, but you can tie up any,
I think you're correct about that. You're allowed like a day for fishing or something that you tie up. These were more permanent, like actual boat. You actually bought the slip.
yeah,
So it was like a condo deal where you're paying the condo fee for this boat slip or
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm like, and you own the slip, so you could stay there.
a lot.
The couple of them said, you probably don't really want to be on the Ohio River during the winter, but you can stay here if you want.
Just keep away from the banks for 2 weeks and you're not in the Ohio River anymore.
I tried to convince her, and all I could say was, you realize you did marry somebody that was in the Navy, right?
I could do a boat. I would be okay with that. I was looking at a couple of boat designs that are just plywood.
Yeah.
Skeletons. And I was considering it, and then I met Marla, and she can't swim. I can't put somebody on a boat that can't swim. I have tried. I've taken her in the pool. I mean, I know lots of people, I sink. Nobody sinks. If you relax and hold still, you'll float. Nope, she sinks. It is hilarious. I don't see how she can.
Patty, the reason she doesn't like water is that was what her dad did to her, was he threw her into I guess it was a pool or something.
Yeah.
Told her, you're either gonna sink or swim, and
The first time I remember swimming, Mom, Dad, my sister, and I were down in Kentucky on that property. And we had a little Volkswagen Beetle. And Dad had a couple of spare inner tubes in it because you needed spare tubes with the Beetle. And he blew them up, and he had some Venetian blind cord that he tied around it. He stuck Angie in one and me in one and starts swimming across the river. Dad was a good swimmer. And at some point I went out underneath and I'm catching up with him. And Mom is tripping because we're halfway across the river. And I remember stopping in the river and Dad coming back, and there's a railroad bridge overhead. I remember watching it.
there it is.
Kawasaki.
Okay, that's not exactly what I was thinking of.
Ibex.
That's kind of wild.
Can you sharpen the edges of those horns?
So Kawasaki, that would be,
Motorcycle guys,
yeah, who makes Kawasaki? Where's that name?
Japan.
Japan, yeah.
They always,
Ibex is Africa.
Japan always comes up with some interesting robots, don't they?
Yeah. On the other side of that, that little Honda thing, they've been working on that for,
Asmo.
yeah, they've been working on that thing for 25 years. It should be further along than it is.
It was pretty advanced for the time.
Yeah.
That was the first one I remember that was able to actually climb steps. But that's just,
It's kind of creepy.
that's very creepy. And it
Yeah.
looks like it's got wheels on it. What does it do? Fold its legs in and just start driving?
Yeah, it looks like it's got wheels on both on the knees.
Yeah, and it looks like they're the Meccano wheels.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It looks like, or Omni wheels or something.
Yeah,
Well, what are the things that poke out to the side there? Is that like training wheels?
Oh, it's probably when it lands, when it sits,
Counterbalance?
sits down, it probably sits, when it sits down, it needs something to sit on. If you let it go all the way to the ground, if you turn it off, what's it gonna do?
What?
Hmm.
That's just bizarre. It's got a Ruko markers though. It's seeing something somewhere.
There was another standing up robot in another portion of the videos.
So.
What show is this at, Jim?
See,
It's on Gizmodo. Could have been anywhere.
don't know.
The
There's a
deranged-
link to it in the meeting announcement.
Okay.
I like the title, Deranged Rideable Goat Robot.
That's sums it up, right? But look, it's obviously made by Kawasaki. There's handlebars.
Mhm.
So it must be battery operated. I don't see any tether coming in from any place.
International Robot Exhibit in Tokyo.
It's got 1,000cc Ninja engine.
Yeah,
That would not surprise me one little bit. Oh, there's a walker back there behind it.
yeah, there's one. You'll see that one. I don't think they show him walking.
Oh, we got flashy lights. You know it's important when you get flashy lights.
Well, this one just, that
And it's
Ibex
small.
just goes and walks around and comes back before they put somebody on it. Ibex.
Looked like when she got on it, it was crouching or something.
Mhm.
Look, it's got a bunch of wheels.
Yep.
This is like a multi-purpose dealy bob.
Has an udder of wheels. Oh,
Multi-terrain or something.
Well, they have the dog. This is similar to the dog, right? Just,
the one that I'd hate to come up against, and it isn't particularly fearsome, but the one that looks like the drinking bird that has a big suction cup to pick up boxes. That thing moves too quick.
that's pretty pointy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, see, it's gonna go down and hit those rests if it goes all the way down.
It's putting its other wheel out.
It's using his knee wheels. Oh, okay.
I assume that guy over there is running it. It's not autonomous.
Well, there's a big red stop button.
Some reason, yeah.
Somebody's running it somewhere. It's probably remote controlled from somewhere.
As a novelty, I'd pay $5 to ride it at the carnival, but I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Well, the platform may let you put your feet on something.
We've got an iPhone up there to control it.
Ah,
That is just bizarre. Okay,
That is so Japanese.
does it say what problem they're trying to solve with this thing? Or is this just some weird?
I think you're making an assumption.
Some weird. It almost looks like one of those, what is it, Magna robot from the Japanese art.
Here
form?
she goes.
oh,
Start your engines. Kawasaki. Robot,
Has 2 stop buttons on it, one on each side.
robot fighting thing. It's a cartoon.
Oh, okay.
It's a cartoon. It's It's a Japanese cartoon where they build these big mechs that fight each other. Anime kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's just bizarre. Okay, I could see it getting clear down so you can get on and off it like that, but what are the wheels actually for?
It can drive on those.
Yeah,
That's what
It
they're
did.
for.
Yeah, what else you need to know?
well,
On
yeah.
a flat surface, it'd be more efficient than it's stepping and faster probably.
I don't know. If you look up the Boston Dynamic Big Dog, even the Spy, I mean, those things are fast.
They're fast and they use the springs to store energy.
Yeah.
They're pretty efficient.
This does not look,
Efficient.
no, this looks like something that,
Here's $1 million, guys. Make us something to send to the show.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what they've been doing for years and years.
Doesn't look that stable either.
It's also kind of creepy that the lights make it look like it's swallowing.
it's, I think because it's got the outriggers on it, it seems like that's weird.
Yeah, maybe they just don't trust it yet.
Oh, there are others.
Yeah, the one in the center looks like it's the same display area.
It's just bizarre. Oh, there's the walker.
Like gummy bees.
He's giving you
I
a
am
double
kidding.
bird, it looks like it.
I am a Cylon. I am a Cylon. Please don't kill me.
Now, does that have a tether coming down to its back?
Looks like it.
There's definitely something back there, yes.
Oh, yeah, there's a tether, see the black.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But it looks like it's just a lifting strap, not power.
Yeah, that's what it looks to me like it's a safety thing or something.
Yeah.
Could be either, could have batteries on it, but the battery density, we're back to batteries again. Anybody want to talk about the new batteries for the week? No.
Okay.
I
Help
think
us.
that strap is there, so in case it attacks the crowd, they can just
Yeah.
yoink.
You know, a lot of times it's there so if they fall over, they don't really hurt themselves or others.
Well, it's called face saving in the Japanese culture.
You know, for a long time, what Spot and Big Dog were attached on tethers.
Mhm.
I guess until after they proved that they were all right. That cheetah thing that Boston Dynamics makes, that's a runner. It's a four-legged, that thing's fast. I've only ever seen that one attached to a tether though.
Yeah. Yeah, at that speed.
It runs on that treadmill at like 100 miles an hour or something.
But yeah, I mean, speed equals megawatts.
Yeah, but walkers do not have to be clunky or slow. They can be fast.
Yeah. Just the battery consumption, particularly if it's carrying its own battery. It's just, if it goes fast, it's not gonna go far.
Yeah. I think good use of springs
Yeah.
saves a lot of that.
Yeah. How far will the General Dynamics dog go with it?
I thought that.
Miles.
Yeah, I thought like New York had some and they were on patrol for like 8 hours a day or something like that.
Really? Didn't know that. I know
They
initially,
got rid of them because public outcry against them, but they had some for a while that was, we could probably look that up. But
Well, they're getting ready to put them in the military. They're ready for the military.
yeah, I think Spot will last like 8 hours before he
That's
needs a
pretty good.
charge.
I know the original Big Dog started out with a little gas engine.
Yeah,
And I can see that if they do put the thing in military use, it's gonna end up with a little diesel generator on it. Be able to go for a week.
what were they using on that? Like a 350 or something, weren't they? I mean,
It was
It was-
pretty small.
I
I
thought it
don't
was,
think it was that big.
I thought it was a decent size. It may have been a V6.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent size engine,
I was thinking more like
a 4-cylinder,
100cc single running a little
like a little.
1,000-watt generator.
Well, the Winkles are considered coming back in the e-car because they're
Yeah.
high density.
I'm really surprised that nobody's made a little ceramic jet engine for electric cars as just a generator. Something the size of an old high C can would be 15 horsepower. And on average, a Tesla
Oh, you-
is using about 2.5 horsepower. So it'd easily keep it charged.
You're right. It was a small engine. I thought it was bigger than that. 1-cylinder, 2-stroke, 1-cylinder, 15 horsepower.
There are a couple of internal
9,000
combustion.
RPM.
There are a couple of internal combustion engines in the news this week. One of them is a knockoff of a Wankel.
Mhm.
It's a variant, very loosely coupled. It has 2 discs that run parallel,
Mhm.
and they have a slot in the side. And at one point they'll close off, and at one point they'll exhaust to the other chamber,
Oh, okay.
and it rotates.
So
And
it's a 2-stage.
it's a
heat
2-stage.
engine.
Yeah, one of them's input and one of them's exhaust,
Mhm.
blow up and exhaust.
Cool.
And they can control, the big deal is they can control the throw of the piston, how long the piston stroke is, basically.
So that means you can control the torque.
Yeah.
What was our other?
If you like big torquey engines, I don't know if they're still doing the tour, but there's a thing in Cincinnati. Shoot, Big Steam Triple or something like that. There are 3 steam engines in one of the water plants down just off the Ohio River near 471. And they used to do a monthly tour through there, and you could walk down into the well, and they still had the original pumps and everything. Very cool. They're not running anymore, but all the bits are there. They can't take them out. They're too big.
Tesla's his invention he was most proud of was a steam turbine.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, the Tesla
97% efficient,
Yeah.
and it was disc.
Mhm.
Yeah. The problem is to use one today, to at the pressure that they'd have to run them at, the disc would have to be like 3 feet in diameter and turn at 100,000 RPM. And that is a problem. That's a
Yeah.
physical issue. But it did have them running at 10,000 RPM at 97% efficiency for steam. Today's turbines are like 95 steam turbines.
They had these things painted blue.
Yeah. What is the green and black thing on its back? Looks like a router.
Quadcopter. No, yeah, a router.
Share.
What are we looking at?
I'm sharing. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
Looks-
Long back, yeah.
I don't know what that green thing is. It looks like.
looks like a
cable.
Netgear router.
Yeah, it does. With cables coming off of it.
Yeah.
But they had these things all painted up as blue and they added whatever this is.
That's the
Onto it.
laser. Stop.
Apparently, they had it patrolling in an area that,
3.5 miles an hour, but how far?
It's a big loop of network cable.
it's a network cable.
Hmm.
Let's see.
Oh,
Oh, I like the yellow one with the rifle on top.
yeah. Need one with a turret on top. Yeah.
It's a 68 caliber
uh,
paintball gun.
How would we word this? What's the operation time?
Range. Range.
Yeah, range or
I'm not talking about range. They can't have they can't have.
range up to 4 miles.
Oh,
And it
really?
goes 3 miles an hour, so an hour and a half.
Yeah, I can see me running across one of those in the woods.
I
yeah.
think they
The
last longer than that.
4 miles might be the distance the radio goes.
Oh,
I do think it depends on the surface,
terrain.
the terrain. I think they last longer than that. They may not make a claim.
Maximum range is typically 50 meters. Oh, that's the
Well,
range of the,
That's the
All right.
Wi-Fi range.
they're not autonomous?
They are, they can be.
Exercise too.
We're probably wording it funny. We want to know how many hours they
Battery time.
battery time.
Like,
Distance.
Typical run, that doesn't sound right. That seems pretty. An hour and a half? $605
5
watt hours.
that's pretty good.
660 volts.
That's a battery capacity. What, how much does it take?
Standby time up to 180 minutes.
That means sitting there not doing anything.
Yes, I
Typical
realize that.
runtime 90 minutes.
Yes.
That's believable. That's runtime.
Well, that may be why New York had a bunch of them. They had some on chargers and some
Sure.
running around. Patrolling.
You realize
But they've got two different types of batteries too. See right here, it says battery. And then they get one that's even a heavier battery at 11 pounds. So that's more capacity.
Gonna do the 5K. What's the 5K speed?
Payload, maximum payload is 150 watts. I think if you start adding stuff, it would take away your battery life.
yeah.
So can these autonomously go to a charging station and recharge the battery?
Yes. It has a return to home feature if it loses communication. But you need to turn that on.
There, Adam Savage had one that he played with, and you could program it. You could make it carry stuff, but you had to program it so that it knew exactly where the weight was sitting at on its back and how heavy, so it could readjust and balance itself.
Really?
Yeah.
Couldn't figure that out. That surprises me.
He had it pull, it would pull a lot of weight though. He had to pull a carriage that he was sitting in. So the carriage was, I don't know, 300 or 400 pounds, and he was another couple of 100 pounds on top of it. And they had to figure out where the mounting point was for it so that it was optimal
Yeah.
to pull. But it had no problem pulling it. It would even pull it uphill. But they had to tell it how much weight it was going to pull and all this other stuff.
So this is functioning as a horse?
It's functioning as all kinds of things. It's you've seen the videos of Spot, right?
Yeah.
The robot. It's got all it can do all kinds of stuff. So it's got attachments so that it can open doors, and it can follow, it can lead, it can carry stuff. It's really pretty amazing, but I thought it would last a lot longer than an hour and a half.
Well, a 10-pound battery is not that much. And that's
Car battery.
smaller. I'm assuming it's lithium ion or
It said it was,
lithium
it was,
phosphate.
it said it was 48 volts or something like that, 50 volts.
I mean, the battery pack on my drill is probably 1.5 pounds, maybe 2. So they got 5 of those.
He had some sort of controller that comes with it. And when you go and adjust, it would show on that controller all the neat little adjustments that you can make. And I guess in autonomous mode, it sort of figured stuff out, but once you got in there and tinkered with the actual settings, you could get it pretty good, pretty close. But that was like one of the early versions of it too, where they were just releasing it to let people play with it.
What's one of those things cost?
More money than all of us have together.
So I was figuring they were like 45,000, 50,000.
Well, their primary customer is the US government. So particularly the Defense Department.
I'm sure those are special ones and 300,000 at least. 75. Huh.
That's not horrible.
$2,700 robot dog. Carry a single bottle of water.
They've got these extra attachments. Oh, I don't care about my 4-week free trial.
Yeah, that's the laser rangefinder.
In schools, and they've got it's like an open specification or something, so people can design stuff to work on this. But you even have to tell it how much that thing weighs so that it knows, so it doesn't tip over. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd want it with the arm. I mean, what's the point?
If you're,
There you go. Go pick up radioactive stuff.
well, if you're, if you're homebound or for some reason or whatever, it might come in handy.
That's cute.
So was that skipping rope or what was that doing?
Yeah, that was skipping rope.
Two of them were turning the rope and one of them was jumping the rope.
Maybe. Stop talking. Tell us, show us Skippy rope. There we go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. For only 150,000, no, more than 150,000.
75.
You got 3 of them, so it's 100, yeah,
A bunch.
bunch. Oh! That seems kind of useless, but
You're burying
least it
sod.
can
I
do
mean,
it.
You're planting trees, yeah.
we don't need to see that restarted. How do I get out?
So where's the robot?
That's just the next video.
That was the next video.
Oh, is that a real dog?
There looks like a real dog right there. Unless that's a clever robot.
Yeah. Really.
Also, they had their first airplane with no moving parts.
I thought I had read somewhere that Boston Dynamic did not want to sell to the military anymore.
They didn't. And then the military probably said, tell you what, we'll give you twice what you're asking for. Because they don't care.
They just go to somebody else. Moving down the road.
Thought that was the whole contention why Google got rid of Boston Dynamic in the first place.
I didn't know Hyundai Motor owned Boston Dynamic. Huh.
See, Tech Giant stated that it would honor Boston Dynamic military contracts, but had no plans to enter into the world of military contracting itself.
So Hyundai will.
I thought that was the whole reason why Google dumped them in the first place, because they didn't want to do military contracts.
That makes it sound like Google bought them after they already had contracts and they're going to let those go, but when they expire, they're not going to renew.
But Google dumped them because they didn't want to do more
No.
military contracts. That was the way I understood it
Mhm.
to happen, was they had military contracts. They didn't want to do any more military contracts, and Google dumped them.
Oops.
But Google will participate with the Chinese communists to control their population communication. Yeah.
Well,
Not display the word democracy on their network. Yeah, great.
that was, I don't know, that was the understanding I had, was Google wanted more military contracts. Boston Dynamics didn't.
Yeah.
Well, the advantage of military contracts is that,
Money.
you know, customers with money are you know, customers without money aren't very useful.
My take on that was Boston Dynamics wanted to market, at least market Spot as a helping robot and not a war robot.
Mhm.
But they built Big Dog and the mule and a couple of those others for the military. So go figure that out. Google also, you know, that weird two-legged robot that Boston Dynamics made that had wheels on it? You remember that thing?
Yeah, that's the drinking bird one with big suction cup.
That Boston Dynamics always built walking leg robots, and Google pushed them into building something with wheels on it.
Oh,
And
well, I will
Boston,
give, that thing was fast. That was the one that had the swinging weight to offset the arm. Yeah.
and Boston Dynamic didn't like that thing at all, or at least that was my understanding. Was that was not something they wanted to do. They wanted to invest their energy and time into building walking robots.
Yeah. I don't know. On a factory floor, moving things around, those make sense. It was kind of cool because we even leaned going around corners.
Yeah,
It's impressive, but scary because it moved too fast.
I saw that a couple of times. Saw videos of that a couple of times. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting, but it's not Boston Dynamics. Every time I hear Boston Dynamics, I think of that Atlas.
Yeah, doing backflips.
That thing's awesome.
Well, the Amazon pick and pack robots are basically they sit on a grid and they don't, there's no legs or anything. They scoot around, follow this Cartesian grid. And they're real. I mean, they run those in the distribution centers.
There in Monroe, the Kroger warehouse that they just built, that's what they're using. They're using a bunch of those robots that
They're similar to the Amazon robots.
probably the same company that built the Amazon robots.
The
built these.
Amazon ones are 2 feet by 1.5 feet and so tall. Basically, they spin around
on wheels. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've seen pictures of the inside of this warehouse, and it's about a 2-foot square thing that's on wheels, on Omni wheels or something. It follows a grid, it follows a path, and it'll pick up various containers off the shelves and keep going.
Yeah, that's their pick and pack robots.
Yeah, somebody else probably built those for Amazon, but
Throw a squirrel in there and see what happens.
that's
I choose a squirrel because I don't care what happens to the squirrel.
that's
Well, rats would be appropriate also.
yeah, but you don't want rats messing around with food.
Yeah.
Well, squirrels are every bit as dirty as rats.
A lot of warehouses are using those pick and pack kind of robots now. I think that Kohl's warehouse has some of those. Edwin worked out there for a while. He said he was always getting in the way of the robots.
What warehouse, Libra?
There's a Kohl's warehouse out there in Monroe that I think they were using at least some robots, because Edwin, when he worked there, he said he was getting in their way all the time. But they were using humans to do a lot of that picking and placing too. So.
Well, in the Amazon warehouses, the way they do it is the humans are stationary at a station, and then the robots bring stuff to them, and then the humans are responsible for packing the stuff.
That's what Edwin was doing. He was on a stationary conveyor belt thingamabob packing stuff for people, but he said he was always getting in the way of the robots. So. I think a lot of companies are using those kind of things now. But I think some companies have taken it to the extreme, like the pictures I've seen of the Kroger.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like people are out on the floor at all. It's just all robots.
Lights out warehouse. Yeah. My kids think that's great. They don't think anybody should have to work. I'm like, yeah, okay. Who's gonna pay for your house?
The
Ain't me.
robots. I don't know. I'm 6-year-old grandkid. I showed her a video of, I think it was in Korea. There was a McDonald's that had robots that would bring the food to the table. And she was like, we need to go to McDonald's right now. I gotta see the robots.
Kind of a long drive.
I don't
Yep.
think I'm going to go to Korea. I'm sorry. But she's, they're going to be here, Papel. We got to see those robots.
Yep.
I think even that video with them in Korea, though, there were people that actually loaded the robots up.
Yeah.
The
They were
robots.
probably radio control or not much beyond go to table 12.
It looked to me like there was
Follow
paint
path.
line on the floor. Somebody did get in its way and it said, excuse me, and it went around. But
Oh, that's cool.
it didn't look to me like they were overly sophisticated.
Mhm.
Like it was a follow the line kind of deal, and it knew that it was going to be at table whatever, and it stopped.
Yeah.
And it knew enough not to hit people, and that was about it.
Yeah, well, it's the 3 laws of robotics.
Yeah.
Asimov is back.
Actually, it was John Campbell. Asimov just wrote the stories.
Oh,
There's a 5th and 6th law of robotics that somebody else wrote and are trying to get added to the canon of the Asimov robots.
Well,
That I gotta look up. 6 laws of robotics.
Basically, the extended laws apply more to artificial intelligence than they do to robots. But
yeah. Yeah, John Campbell was Asimov's first editor. And supposedly he suggested to Asimov that the robots had to be regulated in some ways so that they wouldn't attack people.
there are variations of those laws that circulate throughout sci-fi too.
Yeah.
Mark Tilden 3. A robot must protect its existence at all costs. A robot must obtain and maintain access to its own power source. And a robot must continuously search for a better power source.
Yeah, there's some interesting logical non sequiturs if you go through all of them.
I think that was part of how the stories work too, right? Was the logic of the 3 laws and how the robots could circumvent some of the laws without actually circumventing the laws.
Well, the problem was that if you take the original 3 laws as written, you could create scenarios in which they were contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the early Asimov stories were like that.
I know I don't remember the story. I know he added a 0th law. So there were actually 4 laws of robotics that Asimov had.
I don't remember the 0th law. I remember the first 3.
A robot may not injure humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm.
That's the 0th law, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the last 2 were written by somebody else that was supposedly following the Foundation stories or something, and he said we need 2 more laws, and he was trying to get them added into the canon so that there would actually be like 5 or 6 robot laws, but they were actually AI laws. They weren't robot laws.
Uh-huh.
The Satya Nadella laws,
Maybe.
AI must be designed to assist humanity.
Yeah. That
AI
sounds
must
right.
be transparent. AI must maximize efficiencies without destroying the dignity of people. AI must be designed for intelligent privacy. AI must have algorithmic accountability so that humans can undo unintended harm.
They've added more because the last time I read those, there were only a couple of extras.
AI must guard against bias. Those are the 6.
I'm not sure AI was a well-established concept during Asimov's lifetime. He died in 92.
AI and robots were kind of synonymous with each other at the time, weren't they?
At the time of, you're talking about,
When he
When-
actually wrote the stories.
well, he wrote the stories over a period of, I don't know, 40 years.
Yeah.
He
First
started, I think his first published story on robots, I believe, was in 1936 or 37. He was a teenager. Supposedly, his birth date of record was 1920. However, there's some question about that because his parents actually brought him to the US from Russia. And there was some question because of the immigration laws at the time, whether that was real or plus or minus. But he started publishing, I think, for Campbell in the late 30s when he was still a teenager. So
Yeah, I knew it was pretty early. It was, but
Yep.
You watch a lot of the old, like the old 50s TV shows, sci-fi shows. And when they say robot, they could either mean a robot, like a mechanical man kind of deal,
Yeah.
or something that's artificially intelligent. I think that the term was kind of interchangeable.
Well, Asimov introduced the idea of the positronic brain, which was basically a knockoff of a biological brain. So a knockoff.
That's where when Star Trek: The Next Generation came out and Data had a positronic brain, that was a direct reference to Asimov and an homage to him.
Yeah, reference as in steel.
Yeah, well,
sort of. Asimov wrote at least one episode.
but it was
What
to
year
honor,
was that?
It was to honor his work, is why they
Yeah.
used positronic brains.
68. One of the original Star Trek episodes was written by Asimov. I know at least one. I think 2.
Have spacesuit will travel.
Well, not Asimov, but a wonderful
That's
book.
a Heinlein.
Yeah, I just read that one. It was pretty good. Pretty good.
I heard
Pretty
That
good
was one
story.
of Heinlein's books for boys.
That
Those
was,
were written to try
Yep.
to get boys interested in the military and science and that sort of stuff.
He ends up being on a lot of X-1 and Dimension X radio shows.
Mhm.
A lot of his stories are really good.
Yeah.
They don't transfer real well to radio, to a half-hour radio program.
Some of his, some of his stuff does. I've got a bunch of his future histories
Yeah.
as audiobooks.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good.
Ah,
Some of that's pretty grim.
Yeah. I read some of his stuff from like, what magazine is that? Astounding
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. Astounding was one of the
What?
Astounding was one of the predecessors of Analog.
Yeah, I had a subscription to Analog for a while. I went to a bookstore up in Detroit the last time I was up there, and they had a case of old Analog and Astounding sci-fi. I'm like, how much for all of them? I had no idea how many there were, but it was later on, it counted it out at about 90. $700.
Wow.
Yep.
No, sorry.
Robert B. Parker's name is still putting out books. Ace Atkins. I'm reading Angel Eyes. It's your typical Robert B. Parker book. So it's pretty good if you like the Robert B. Parker series.
I'm listening to X-1 in the car right now. Does that count?
X-1. Is that a good one?
X-1 is the old sci-fi, old-time radio sci-fi program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, before we break up, I have a question.
We might have,
Does anybody have a favorite car camera?
I'm real happy with that cheap thing I've got. I don't think that one is in production anymore, but the company that made it still has those things, but it's like $75.
What brand's that, Steve?
I'm trying to remember, I'm sorry. It's a 1080p forward and a 720p backwards, 2 cameras tied together for $75.
Oh, so you have one behind the windshield and one one pointing back towards,
Yep, and they're both recording constantly. I haven't checked them for a while. I ought to do that. But it says that it's still recording.
so does it put them on an SD or what?
Yeah, I've got a 64 gig micro SD card in there, and that records about 2 weeks. And it's always on. I turned it always on just because I'll probably turn that back off now. Just go to motion meet.
I'm looking for one for my car. I had one for a while. It was just a cheapy $20 one.
Cool.
It worked beautiful. I mean, it actually worked really, really well until one day it didn't.
So those old police cars that you drive, they don't have built-in cameras already?
Well, no. But most of the time, the departments will take that stuff back out.
Oh, so when they auction them off, they don't leave any of the good stuff in them.
It's about 50, 90. 90% of the time, they don't leave anything, but you might get lucky and get some stuff left behind. So, several years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, I did buy some police auction cameras. And they were really, really good, but they were analog. They recorded to VHS.
Oh,
They were really good. The videos were always nice and sharp and crisp, but you don't want that. You don't want to put a VHS deck in your trunk.
probably not. Although I still have a closet
But-
full of VHS tapes.
I had a dash camera. I bought it when Micro Center, or not Micro Center, when MCM went out of business years ago. It was $20, and I mean, it worked great. It was a Chinese, no name, knockoff camera. Vicente's here, and he's late.
Very late. Hello.
Yeah.
But it worked wonderful until it did, and just one day it just
Yeah.
decided it wasn't going to work.
Hey, Vicente.
What I've read about some of those though is you can get some pretty fancy cameras that have like GPS built into them and all that. So I guess if somebody stole your car,
Hi,
know that they stole
Hi.
your car. Hey Vicente, you're late.
yeah, sorry, almost missed it.
It's almost time for us to go.
Yeah, okay, just to say goodbye.
Oh, by the way, Art, I did
Yeah.
actually put a link in the meeting announcement.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay,
The announcement came out, or I saw it late enough that I didn't get a chance to watch it, but yeah, I saw that you had it in there.
yeah. I remembered this morning, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
so it got there, but
So the one
Well,
that
thank
I
you.
got- The one that I have is a VIFO, VIOFO, whatever that is.
Is that the manufacturer or the model?
That's the manufacturer. That seems to be the one that, there's only one design really, and they don't make mine anymore. Now it's a 4 megapixel camera or 5.
So that's VISO,
VIOFO.
VIOSO.
F is in Frank.
not S, F, Frank,
Oh, Frank.
not S, not Sam, Frank.
Frank. IOS. Oh, it's VI.
Victor, India,
F,
Oscar,
O.
Foxtrot, Oscar.
Victor, India, Oscar, Foxtrot, Oscar.
Yep.
Thank you.
You got it.
I'll see. You're saying that they don't make your model anymore, but they make other models, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not interested in spending $1,000 on it, but I would spend $100 on it.
Well, this one I'm seeing is 170. But you can probably find them cheaper. There's one for 160.
I like the ones that do the dash cam and rear view cam.
Mhm.
That's what I've been looking for lately. 'Cause
Yeah,
you see
mine
what's
does.
coming at you, but you don't see what's behind you so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know which way you're getting hit from, so to speak.
Well, mine is definitely good enough to read license plates on of anything that gets close enough to tap you.
There's
Real happy with it.
one of them I saw has accelerometer and some other sensors in it, so that
Mine
if
does.
you get hit, it
Yep.
starts recording extra or something.
Mine is always recording, but if you get hit,
It'll
it
block it.
it locks that recording, so you can't delete it. You have to actually take the chip out and delete it in the computer if you
Huh.
want to recover that space. And you can, it just comes out as MP4 files. You can read them in a normal computer.
Uh-huh.
And That's handy.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
My cheap $20 one recorded an MP4 file, so,
Yeah, I
but,
think everything does now.
but that one, like I said, that one worked fine, and it worked fine for a few years, and then it just didn't, it just stopped.
I had wanted to make one out of a pie, just so when I
That's-
got
that's what I
home,
was thinking
it
of.
would sync to the server and just dump all its files.
I was thinking Pi or, you know, even I've got that dash, I've got an Android radio
Mhm.
head unit.
Mhm.
It would be easy enough to hook a camera up to that USB port.
So these are powered out of a cigarette lighter or what?
Yeah, it comes with its own cigarette lighter adapter. I went and got another one and cracked open the case and put it in heat shrink cable or heat shrink tubing. And it's up
Mhm.
inside my overhead light because that always has power. And it's just hidden up there. So now my power wire is only this long. It just
Uh-huh.
goes inside the light to the dash or to the camera that's up behind the rear view mirror.
That's what I did with mine too. I powered mine from something that was turned on with the switch. The card.
Oh, no, mine's always on.
Well,
And,
I
and-
did.
and- and mine will run down my battery if I don't drive it for a week and a half.
All right, Jim's packing up. I think that's a sign.
Oh, really?
I'll see you guys.
Oh,
I'll see you guys later.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
good night.
You have a